From the director of Heat, The Insider, and Collateral comes a film made over a decade after all of those great films. What exactly have you been doing, Mr. Mann? Were you waiting on a distant planet for Matthew McConaughey as well? Blackhat is directed by Michael Mann, and it stars the much dreamier than his brother Chris Hemsworth, Tang, Lee-Hom Wang, and Viola Davis. In this film, Chris Hemsworth plays Nicholas Hathaway, a man in prison for cybercrime, who is then offered a commuted sentence if he will help a joint operation between the US and Chinese governments as they try to take down a high-profile cyber terrorist. That's right, Michael Mann made a movie about crime. But it's international crime! Who saw that coming? Now, the effects and CG they used to visualize the computer systems in this film were fantastic. I had never really seen it done quite that way before, and I just really enjoyed it. It's also great just to see Michael Mann's visual style back on the big screen again. It's been 6 years since his last film, and the guy is super talented from a visual standpoint. You know, his films have a very gritty tone a lot of times. He likes to use a lot of handheld cameras, and he likes close-ups of his actors. He likes to get right in there and capture every nuance of the performance that he can. He's also very deliberate with his color and his contrast. He decided he didn't want to use establishing shots for much of the film because he didn't want to slow down the pacing of it. And so he used other elements of the scenery in each scene to help the audience figure out where they were. I mean, the guy is talented. He used multiple different cameras and multiple formats during the course of the shooting, which I'm sure drove his post-production crew crazy. But the guy's got real talent, and it shows up on the screen. There were many great shots in this film that I really enjoyed, and visually, in many respects, this film looks amazing. But it's not all perfect. At times, it feels like he's almost a slave to the handheld camera. I mean, the guy almost never uses a tripod anymore. And all of that would be fine, except for when you're talking about chase scenes and fight scenes. I mean, the guy won't even use a Steadicam. And that, in my opinion, doesn't work when you're chasing your actors down a street. You've got the camera going like this, and on top of that, you've got frame rates to deal with. It makes the entire thing virtually unwatchable because you can't tell what's going on. It's shaky, it's out of focus. And the same is true of the fight scenes. While they seemed like they might be kind of impressive and cool, I could barely tell what was going on in most of them because it was either too close to the subject and way too shaky. The camera is the eye of the audience. And a normal person chasing after a guy down the street, he can tell what's a couple of feet in front of him. It just doesn't make any sense, and that part, it took me out of it. And I think that it's going to take a lot of people out of the experience as well. Those few things aside, on the whole, this film still looks very good. Unfortunately, no matter how great this film looks, it doesn't make up for the complete lackluster and emotionless story. I mean, these characters are just flat as a pancake, and their motivations are utterly confusing. In particular, the villain. I think if anyone who watches this movie, get to the end and then ask yourself, why is this person doing it? And I don't think you'll be able to come up with an answer because the film doesn't really tell you. On top of that, this person isn't even in the movie most of the time. I mean, you don't really see them at all until the end, and then you're like, I don't really care. I don't know this person. So there's no impact there. I don't really care other than what I've seen, the henchmen do. And that's not enough. The part that really didn't work for me, though, was the romance between Hemsworth and Wei Tang's characters. I mean, it just happened so quickly that it just felt totally manufactured. There wasn't even a scene where these two people flirt with one another. It was just a couple of paragraphs of dialogue, and it's like, boom, I love you. I mean, Relationships and emotional ties have to be built when you're making a film. You have to show why these people like each other and give the audience these moments between them that make you care about them. Otherwise, the audience won't. I didn't. It was just a big problem for me. This entire review is done with a heavy heart because I really, really wanted to like this film. Unfortunately, it just feels like Michael Mann has forgotten how to tell a story. In my opinion, the guy has not made a good film in over 10 years, and that's a real shame because the guy is really, really good behind a camera. A 2.5 out of 5. So, have you been excited for Blackhat, or have you seen this film? And let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, click right here if you like what you see, and subscribe to even more of me.